In this video, what we're going to be doing is utilizing our create enemy status function. We're going to limit our AI's site distance, and we're going to create one last state that's going to allow the enemy to check the last location that he saw you before giving up. Because currently, after you turn the corner, he just gives up. We don't want to do that. We want him to at least kind of look for you a little bit. So to get started, what we're going to do is we're going to create a variable float called AI site distance, and this is just going to hold our AI site so that so we don't have to keep pointing back to our puzz enemy information. And also, it allows us to set the site to 0 if we don't want him to see. Inside of puzz enemy information, we're going to create a bool called b can see and a float called AI site distance. And in default properties, we're going to set b can see to true because we want him to see, and AI site distance to 800. You may ask, why would you right now you can't, the AI won't attack unless it sees you, the way we have the code set up. And you may ask, why would you ever even have that option to set it? Because the reason is because you may not want the AI to see because of some special reason. For instance, maybe it's blinded, or maybe you add an ability where you don't want them to see the player anymore, so you want to turn it off, kind of like an invisibility thing. You also may want to create a creature that really does attack on hearing, not seeing, and in that case, you'd obviously use that situation as well. Um, okay, so now that we have those things in the process, we're going to go down and we're going to kind of combine two things at once here. We're going to limit the site, and we're also going to utilize the create enemy status. So down in our event C player, what we're going to do is we're going to move C player outside of our states. So we're going to create an event C player, local float distance of enemy. We're going to do super.c player in case if there's any code before, which I don't believe there is, but just in case. And then distance of enemy is going to equal get enemy distance seen player. So we're going to grab the distance between the player and the enemy's pawn. We're going to make sure that distance is at least less than or equal to the AI site distance, because we don't want him to see beyond that. If it isn't, we make sure it's a player controller and there isn't a blocking volume in the way. And finally, if everything works, we're going to set the enemy to the scene player. We're going to create enemy status, and we're going to check to make sure it isn't. If it's a new enemy, if it isn't, we're going to set all the status elements, and then we go to state attacking. So this C player will work pretty much for every state that we've created so far except the attacking state. So what we can do now is, inside of function cPlayer, we can delete all that code that was in there and just put global.cPlayer. What global does is it basically says, grab the function code outside of the states and use it in here. And then if you want it, you can also add other code with it. So it allows you to make changes to multiple states if they're all using the same function or event, without having to go into each state and find the little bit of code you need to change and things like that. So it makes things a lot easier to handle. So what we've done is, inside state wandering, we've removed all that code and put global.cPlayer now, and we've done that inside of the other states as well, the check noise state and the defend location state. So we've limited now the AI distance to C. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go down to a new state we're creating, and the state's called last location check. And as you can see, we did the exact same thing. We use cPlayer and we use the global because it's going to use that. And then we have here noise, which a lot of this code is actually grabbed from the check noise state. It's kind of a hybrid of check noise and wandering in a way. And the reason is because if he does hear the noise, we want him to also check the noise location. We have find path like normal, decide path. Down here, after our decide moving path, if we can't find a path, we just set the goal to the enemy's last location, because at that point we might as well just go to that last location no matter what. We have function set next location and path like normal, and then in the begin state we set nav goal location to equal to enemy last location. And the reason for this is to help avoid any issues where the AI's goal gets hit before we set it inside of our function. So this is a quick set, and we might even want to consider doing this in the check noise state. But for right now we won't worry about it. So we have nav goal location equals enemy last location, and then we call on decide path moving path. In our begin label, we do if the pawn reached its point at that point and it didn't see the enemy and attack it, obviously, then we go to enemy equals none, and if B defender, go to state defend objective, otherwise go to state wandering. So basically what it does is it checks to see if it can see you, and if it does, then it'll go back to state attacking. If it doesn't, then at that point, if it reaches its point, then obviously it's it's no longer it's going to go back to whatever situation because it can't find you. It's not going to worry about looking for you anymore. Now, if you wanted to, you could obviously have this thing pursue further, but we're just have it pursue to one location, the last spot he saw you, so the last corner you turn, basically. Now, to finish this up, we need to go inside of our attacking state. So I just need to find it, and I believe here it is. Yes. Okay. And in our attacking state, in our C player for that, we want to in our after we do a check to make sure there's a blocking volume in the way or not, we create enemy status again. And the reason for this is because even after you lose the sight of the player, you still need to find him. You still need to locate the last spot. So we want to recreate that enemy status. And then we're going to go to state last location check. So we're no longer going to check if it's a defender or not. So now attacking is kind of more of a middle state than an ending state, where before it would push you back to your original state. Now it's kind of in between the original state that you start at and the last state you end up at, because the last state you'll usually end up at now at this point is either check noise or check last seen location. And that pretty much completes this video.